Hello race fans, Johnny Hobby with a track tip on how to keep your Carrera slot car layout from coming apart. You've probably experienced this where the track keeps separating in the same spot and no matter how many times you fix it, it'll be back. This happens when there's two conditions present. The track is under some sort of differential stress or tension, and there is a spot where one of the Carrera track connectors aren't locking the track together as well as it could or should. Now, having some sort of twist or tension in the track is pretty unavoidable if your track is anything larger than, say, a starter track, especially if it includes an elevated track, i.e. overpasses or bank turns and that kind of thing. Because it'll be impossible to eliminate all of those stress points, we have to take a look at those individual connections. The most common cause of these track separations and also the easiest to fix is simply just a bad connector. This section of track here, this is part of my long straightaway, and after about 3 or 4 races or so, the track kind of starts separating like this, and then I can go ahead and put it back the way it goes, and a few races later, again, it's kind of separated, and I can feel underneath here that that connector is sliding back through, the catch there, which it's not supposed to do. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this connector out, and it's got a little bit of a piece of test track here. So if I run this connector into the test track on this side here, you can hear that clicks in real nice, and I can't pull it out not until I hit the release of that barb or ear or whatever you call it. But if I flip it around, first notice that click isn't quite as defined, and also I can pull it straight out with very little force. Takes just a little bit. So if I can pull it out like that without hitting that release, then for sure, if this track is under a little bit of tension, it's going to eventually come out also. Yeah. And so different clip here. Before I put it, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that this one that I'm putting in is good. That old one, be sure you throw it away. It's no good. You don't want to accidentally use it somewhere else. And so after I put this clip in, nice loud click, and now this I can tell just by moving this around that is definitely holding better than it did before. Another cause for that gap opening up is that this track connector never fully engages both pieces of track, and not that it's a faulty connector or user error, but rather just a unfortunate combination of the variation in the dimensions of the parts. The pockets here that hold the clips, this dimension can vary, and it does vary from track to track, as well as this gap here between the tabs of the connectors, that also varies. And if you get the right combination or the wrong combination, depending on how you think of it, of two pieces of track where those are a little bit longer than nominal, and a clip that's a little bit shorter than nominal, that will never latch. The tabs will never clear the sides of those pockets. And you may have built your track and have a situation like that somewhere, and you didn't even realize it, that it never latched properly, nor will it ever. Fortunately, the fix is normally just go ahead and change out the connector, because I find that when one of those are a little bit smaller like that, it's a rarity, maybe 1 in 20 or 1 in 30 clips. However, that's not always the case. I've had instances where no matter what clip I put in here, no matter how much I try to squeeze this track together, that will not latch. And now sometimes the solution to that can be just to shave off part of the edge of this pocket here. It doesn't take much, maybe 1/10 or 2/10 of a millimeter to get that clip to fully engage. And now I've got exactly this situation on a new section of track that I just put in. However, I'm not going to modify the track, mainly because I don't feel like taking it apart. This is the problem area right here, and I don't want to have to take apart this turner and everything to get underside the track. So instead, I'm going to modify a clip. So I know this won't focus close up, but I'm just going to file the inside of the latch here and here, just a tiny amount, again, maybe 1/10 or 2/10 of a millimeter. But at the same time, notice that this file, it's a metal file, but it's triangular. and that allows me to kind of undercut that tab a little bit on both sides. And so that's going to guarantee that I don't have any sort of a chamfer, or ramp the wrong direction, in which case it can disengage itself given enough stress. So in this area here, I'm going to get in my own light here, but yeah, if I hold this track together and I move this clip into position, it never does actually snap in. And so I'm going to replace it with one that I had modified, and I marked it with a little Sharpie here. That way I know this is one of those modified clips. So when I put this back together, yeah, I can hear that nice click in there, and that's going to hold it quite well, and that's going to stop separating like it was before. Now, there may be some of you out there saying, hey, that's great and everything, but I have some track that doesn't take those long red locking clips. It doesn't lock together, and that's why it's falling apart. And so, yeah, you might have some of this, 4-tab, this is the older exclusive track, and you might just think, okay, it just doesn't lock together. Well, it did, except that I have yet to see say a reseller, say on like eBay or something, selling the older track and also include the clips that go with it. These U-shaped clips is the way that this track is held together. You can see, because you got the tabs on the ends, those connectors don't work. But yeah, when we put this together, these then go in and lock this way. And they do a really good job of holding the track together. They're just not as convenient as the newer style 3-tab track, because they're more difficult to get to unless you got the track upside down, but they do hold it together. So yeah, if you got some of the 4-tab track and you don't have any of these, you definitely want to get some. The good thing is these are still in production, so they're not going to be impossible to find. And one more thing, now that you know that there can be some variation in these connectors, you might have some spot on your track that it's not separating, not giving you a problem per se, but the gap might be a little larger than you'll like. This doesn't look good, for example. You can go ahead and take your calipers and find some connectors that might have a little bit of a smaller spread and put that in there and shrink up that gap a little bit. It'll look better, and then it'll stop triggering your OCD. So if you had separation anxiety or track disconnection issues and any of these tips helped you out, be sure to let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. We really appreciate you watching. Subscribe if not already, and we'll see you at the finish line.